Walk away from the 97%. Don't use their vocabulary, excuses, or method of drift and neglect. Won't even walk around the block for their health. Won't even eat an apple a day. Won't even take the time to refine their philosophy for a better life. Walk away and join the 3%. Guess how many people can retire from the income of their own personal resources when it comes time to retire? Answer: 5%. In America, 5% of the people are independent. 95% are dependent. Take charge of your own retirement. You can multiply it at least by 5. Let the government take care of it. Some company take care of it. You got to divide by 5. I'm asking you to take charge of your own retirement. Take charge of your own life. It happens to be one of the titles of my own cassette program. Take charge of your own life. That's what we've talked about here all morning. Take charge of your own day. Don't have days like most people have. You'll wind up broke and poor. Pennies, no traceries. Trinkets, no values. Change it all, and it starts as simple as an apple a day. It starts as simple as the first book of your new library. It starts as simple as the first journal that you get and make the first entry, that when people see it will say, "This is the beginning of a study of a serious student. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be powerful. They're going to be rich. They're going to have it all. Look, they've committed themselves to a whole new journey. I'm asking you to do that. But what's easy to do is what's easy not to do. Walk away from the 90%. Walk away from the 97%. Walk away from the 95%. Don't go where they go. Don't do what they do. Don't talk like they talk. Develop your own whole new language. I'm asking you not to hope they're going to fix this out here next year so that you'll be healthier. I'm asking you to pick up some new disciplines so that you will be healthier. Drive yourself to do it book by book, entry by entry. It's all available for you. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue, chase, run after. Success is something you develop, something you become. You attract success. Success is a numbers game. I'm asking you to be mature enough to start checking your own numbers. How many books have you read in the last 90 days? Transform your life. Become cultured, powerful, sophisticated, healthy, influential. All the rest of the stuff you want. How many books? How many classes? How committed are you to taking what's available and turning it into equities? Unprecedented, since we live in a country that there's been no such country in the last 6,500 years. My best hope for happiness at age 25 was to just go through the day with my fingers crossed, hoping somehow something would make me happy. Shop said, "No, Mr. Rohn. Happiness is not something you postponed. Happiness is not something off in the future. Happiness is something you design." You got to get the word. Happiness is something you design. Happiness is a study. Happiness is a practice. Happiness is an art. It's not an accident. It's an art. And anybody that wants to can study, practice the art of happy living. Happiness is like culture. Money doesn't make you cultured, but culture is within the grasp of all of us. How much is a book on sophistication in the marketplace? $4,000? No, $40. I'm telling you, in America, everything's available. Everything's within reach. All you have to be is committed to it and make it a study. Culture is a study. Sophistication is a study. It's not an amount. It's not an account. It's a study. Money doesn't make you sophisticated and cultured. I know a guy that's rich. He's a clod. The guy's a clod, each with his elbow in his soup. I mean, he's just a clod. Nothing much more pitiful than a rich clod. I mean, that's a sad thing to see. Money doesn't make you sophisticated. Only study and practice makes you sophisticated. Only study and practice makes you cultured. And only study and practice makes you happy. Study and practice makes you rich. Shelves it. Mr. Owen, if you wish to be wealthy, study wealth. Why wouldn't you have a superior, powerful financial plan that's taking you to the places you want to go? I'm asking you, if you find yourself caught like I was at age 25, Make the personal commitment today and say, I'm going to study and I'm going to change. And 5 years from now, nobody's going to be able to say, how come you don't have a superior plan, living in a superior country with superior opportunity? Nobody's going to be able to say that 5 years from now. If you'll make that commitment, I'm telling you, this will be one of the most exciting days of your life, not because of my seminar. It'll be one of the most exciting days of your life because of your commitment to this simple little process I've outlined. I'm telling you, success doesn't want to hang around an incompetent person. That's the problem with winning the lottery, the lack of self-development, to be able to master it and keep it. And now the fortune is bigger than the person, rather than the person being bigger than the fortune. You see, that's what's challenging, to be involved in a situation that makes you grow. If that situation is success, keep growing to be bigger than your fortune. If that situation is failure, keep growing until you're bigger than the problem. Keep growing, keep becoming, keep doing it until success is something you attract by the person you become. Once I understood that, I changed my whole method of operation. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue. What you pursue usually eludes you like a butterfly. Something you go after that, you can't catch. Success is something you attract like a magnet by the person you become. To attract attractive people, you must be attractive. To attract powerful people, you must be powerful. To attract committed people, you must be committed. Instead of going to work on them, you go to work on yourself. You work harder on yourself than you work on the job. And if you become, you can attract. The whole key is to make yourself valuable. The key is to make yourself attractive. The key is to make yourself skillful, competent, willing, powerful, unique, sophisticated, cultured, being able to manage, in control, healthy. The whole key really to the future is personal development. Because the greatest gift you can give to someone else is your personal development. Self-development, self-investment. The greatest gift you can give is your own personal development. If I become 10 times wiser, 10 times stronger, 10 times brighter, 10 times more competent, think of what that will do for my success. If I grow, think of what that will do for my future. Self-development earns success. Self-investment earns respect. And the only way to make a better and better investment in your future is to become better and stronger and wiser and more competent. And the more attractive you become, the more attractive you are. And the more attractive you are, the more you attract success. Self-development. Self-investment attracts success. That's powerful. Now, there are two qualities that can increase your chances of success. Two very important qualities. Number one, patience. Number two, persistence. Let's talk about patience for a moment. Patience is what? Learning to handle the passing of time. Now, once you've had an appetite for success and you start going for it now, you've got to learn to handle the passing of time. Here's why it takes time. It takes time to build a corporate work of art. It takes time to build a symphony orchestra with flawless music and harmony that sends you on flights of ecstasy to be remembered long after the orchestra has shut down and the lights have gone out. It takes time to put harmony together. It takes time to build a life. It takes time to build an enterprise. It takes time to get through school. It takes time to develop and grow. So give your enterprise time. Give your business time. If you're in management, give your people time. If you're a parent, give your kids time. Don't be too short, too quick. Give them time now, not forever, but time. It takes time. Here's the ultimate challenge. You've got to have patience with yourself. It takes time to make changes in habit and discipline. It takes time to correct old errors in judgment and to finally give up old blame and pick up new responsibility. I'm telling you, it took me some time. I used to blame the government and blame taxes and blame the company and blame the marketplace. It took me a long time to give that up. That was a pretty comfortable list to explain my empty bank account, pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, not doing well, embarrassed by my situation. It took time to give that up and only blame myself. That took a while. So have patience with yourself. Number 1 and number 2. While you're dealing with the passing of time, number 2 is to keep doing it. Be persistent. Be tenacious. Keep doing it until, as long as you are patient and persistent. It's hard to elude success as long as you maintain patience and persistence. Tenacity. There's only one person, just one person, that will draw the line between success and failure. One person. And that person is you. So be patient, be persistent. You need both patience and persistence together. And here's why. Lack of patience is probably the worst enemy of ambition. While your ambition keeps growing, keeps moving, keeps looking for new ways to succeed, impatience tends to grow frustrated. Impatience won't allow for persistence. Impatience wants to give up. Impatience calls discouragement failure, but your ambition won't let you give up so easily, not if you're persistent. What others may call failure, ambition calls a learning opportunity, a chance to make adjustments along the charted course to success. Ambition knows something else too. Ambition knows that the longer the achievement is incoming, the more valued it is. But here's how you get a miracle going for your life. Number 1, do what you can. Get a list of the stuff you could do and you haven't done, postpone, and start cleaning that up. You can't start at a better place for personal change. That'll affect your bank account, affect your future, affect your income, affect everything. A better life change process than cleaning up what you should be doing. Now, here's the second part of the miracle. Number 1 is, do what you can. Here's number 2, do the best you can. If that's not your philosophy, I would ask you to amend it. Let me give you the best of ancient script. Here's what it says. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. Do it with all your strength, and do it with all your power. What a good philosophy. That kind of philosophy revolutionizes your life. If you haven't picked it up late, guy slips in late. Company doesn't seem to mind. Slips out early. First one in the parking lot, heading for happy hour, stretches his break. Comes early for lunch. Late back from lunch. Company doesn't seem to notice. Guy says, best as I can calculate, I'm putting in about a half a day's work and I'm collecting a full day's pay. Little does he know the seeds of his own disaster are already being sown by the weakness of his own personal philosophy. It's not the economy that's going to determine your next 6 years. It's your philosophy about labor and about activity and about miracle and soil and seed and sunshine and rain and the economy and the banks and the money and the companies and the schools and what's going on. It's your philosophy and your attitude and then your ability to take action. All of that we call the process of life change, miracle working. Every new discipline affects the rest. Every new discipline makes a difference. That's why action is so important. The smallest action, the least action, the action that you won't think will matter. It all matters. Take it. Because when you start accomplishing and the value starts to return, you'll find inspiration to do the next one and the next one and the next one. But for this whole process to work for us, we must first master the art of discipline, self-discipline, consistent self-discipline. It doesn't really matter how smart you are or how much you know if you don't use it. It doesn't really matter that you graduated magna cum laude if you're stuck in a low-paying job. It doesn't really matter if you attended every seminar that comes to town if you don't apply what you've learned. Better than knowledge is applied knowledge. And once we've applied our knowledge, we must study the results of that process. Apply our knowledge, study the results, refine our approach. Finally, by trying and observing and refining and trying again, our knowledge will inevitably produce worthy results, admirable results. And with the joy and results of our efforts, we continue to apply, to learn, to observe, to fuel our ambition. With the positive reinforcement of continued progress, pretty soon, we'll find that we're swept into a spiral of achievement, a vertical rise to success. Set up a discipline. When the emotions are high and the idea is strong and clear and powerful, that's the time to set up the discipline. Somebody talks about good health and you're stirred, right? I need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes. And before the emotion gets cold, go for the book. Start the library, start the process. Fall on the floor, do some push-ups. Action. Gotta take action. Otherwise, the wisdom is wasted. Otherwise, the emotion soon passes unless you put it into disciplined activity. Capturing disciplines is called how to capture the emotion and how to capture the wisdom and translate it into equity disciplines. You start walking around the block, it'll inspire you to get an apple. Get an apple. It'll inspire you to get a book. Get a book. It'll inspire you to get a journal. Get a journal. It'll inspire you to grow, develop some skills. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack and set up the new. And you've started a whole new life process. Also, one more thought on discipline. Here's the greatest value of discipline. Self-worth, self-esteem. People are teaching self-esteem these days, but they don't connect it to disciplines. The least lack of discipline, and it starts to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to just ease up a little bit, right? The slightest lack of doing your best starts to erode the psyche. Instead of doing your best, doing just a little less than your best. Sure enough, you say, well, it's just going to affect my sales. No, it's going to affect your consciousness. It's going to affect your philosophy. Now, you've begun in the slightest way to affect your own philosophy. Here's the problem with the least neglect. Neglect starts as an infection, and if you don't take care of it, it becomes a disease. And one neglect leads to another. And the worst of all, when neglect starts, it diminishes our self-worth, our self-confidence, our self-value. You say, well, how can I get back my self-respect? I'm telling you, you don't have to go to 29 classes. All you have to do is start the smallest discipline that now corresponds to your philosophy. Like I should, and I could, and I will. No longer will I let neglect stack up on me so that I will have the sorry scenario 6 years from now giving some excuse instead of celebrating my progress. That's the key to discipline. Okay, let's get kids involved in the least of disciplines. One more, and then one more, and then another one, and then another one, and then some more. And the first thing you know, you're starting to weave the tapestry of a disciplined life into which you can pour more wisdom and more attitude and more strong feeling, more faith and more courage. Now you've got something, a vessel in which to put it. And now the equity starts to flow. And the early return. I'm telling you, if you'll start this process, the early return will have you so excited you'll commit yourself to this strategy for the rest of your life. You'll never go back to the old ways. Join a new crowd, join a new group. The disciplines to do it, take action. Now here's the other side of discipline. If there's considerable time that passes between the moment of awareness and the time of our implementation, then that is called procrastination. Procrastination. Doing it tomorrow instead of today. Procrastination, an almost exact opposite of discipline. The voice within us says, get it done. Discipline then says, do it now. Do it to the best of your ability. Today, tomorrow, and always, until finally, the worthy deed becomes instinctive. Procrastination says, later, tomorrow, whenever I get a chance. Procrastination also says, do what is necessary to get by or to impress others. Do what you can, but not what you must. In every circumstance we face, we are constantly presented with these two choices. Do it now or do it. Discipline and procrastination. A choice between a disciplined existence, bearing the fruit of achievement and contentment, or procrastination, the easy life for which the future will bear no fruit, only the bare branches of mediocrity. The rewards of a disciplined life are great, but they're often delayed until sometime in the future. The rewards for the lack of discipline are immediate, but they are minor in comparison to the immeasurable rewards of consistent self-discipline. An immediate reward for lack of discipline is a fun day at the beach. A future reward of discipline is owning the beach. For most, we choose today's pleasure rather than tomorrow's fortune. So how can you get rid of the easy distractions? How can you keep your mind on what you're trying to do? How can you keep an attitude of doing it all and doing it now? How can you make the choice of discipline over procrastination? How can you stay focused on your ambitions? How can you avoid conversations at the water cooler? You can keep your focus on your work. You can get it done today instead of tomorrow. You've got to really work on your consistent self-discipline on a daily basis, or you'll find yourself distracted. Distracted by negative thoughts, distracted by negative people, distracted by water cooler chatter, and pretty soon, depending on the type of people you've associated with, distracted by your doubts within yourself. Never underestimate the power of influence and associations, and never underestimate the power of your own consistent self-discipline. Now let's take a closer look at discipline, at the 3 steps to becoming disciplined. First, true discipline is not the easiest option. Most people would rather sleep until 10 than get up at 6. It's easier to go to bed late, sleep late, show up late, leave early. It's easier not to read. It's easier to turn on the television than to open a book. It's easier to do just enough than to do it all. Waiting is always easier than acting. Trying is always easier than doing. Imagine what life would be like if we didn't have to make our bed in the morning, or keep our garage clean, or pay our taxes, or show up for work tomorrow. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we didn't have to do these things? Wouldn't it be fascinating? What do you?
I have found in life that if you want a miracle, you first need to do whatever it is you can do. If that's to plant, then plant. If it is to read, then read. If it is to change, then change. If it is to study, then study. If it is to work, then work. Whatever you have to do. And then you will be well on your way of doing the labor that works miracles. One day Mr. Schoff said, "Jim, if you want to be wealthy and happy, learn this lesson well. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job." Since that time, I've been working on my own personal development. And I must admit that this has been the most challenging assignment of all. This business of personal development lasts a lifetime. You see, what you become is far more important than what you get. The important question to ask on the job is not, what am I getting? Instead, you should ask, what am I becoming? Getting and becoming are like Siamese twins. What you become directly influences what you get. Think of it this way. Most of what you have today, you have attracted by becoming the person you are today. I've also found that income rarely exceeds personal development. Sometimes income takes a lucky jump. But unless you learn to handle the responsibilities that come with it, it will usually shrink back to the amount you can handle. If someone hands you $1 million, you'd better hurry up and become a millionaire. A very rich man once said, "If you took all the money in the world and divided it equally among everybody, it would soon be back in the same pockets it was before." It is hard to keep that which has not been obtained through personal development. So here's the great axiom of life. To have more than you've got, become more than you are. This is where you should focus most of your attention. Otherwise, you just might have to contend with the axiom of not changing, which is, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you've got. We call that what? A miracle, only because we don't quite understand how it works. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It simply means we don't quite understand how it works. So, how do you get a miracle going for your life? Number one, do what you can. Get a list of the stuff you could do and you haven't done, postponed, and start cleaning that up. You can't start at a better place for personal change. That'll affect your bank account, affect your future, affect your income, affect everything. You can't start a better life change process than cleaning up what you should be doing, the man says. Well, my mother lives down in Florida. I should have written her 6 months ago. I just can't seem to get that letter written. I'm asking you to get that letter written. Clean that up and don't walk like other people walk. Don't postpone like other people postpone, you say. Well, is it as simple as writing a letter? And the answer is yes. Where else would you start for life change, personal change? You don't need a pink package to fall out of the sky. You don't need massive bombard, pre-conscious, subconscious practice channeling. Find a 1,000-year gold guru. I mean, you don't need any of that stuff. Pass on all that. Kids are afraid of that stuff. Too much of it. You'll be out on a limb with Shirley. I mean, don't pass on all that stuff. The stuff is too easy. The stuff is too simple. It's called take action number 1 on neglect, on errors, and discipline. Start setting up some disciplines. And if you do that, you'll perform a miracle. Now, the second part of the miracle is do the best you can. If that's not your philosophy, I would ask you to amend it. Let me give you the best of ancient script. Here's what it says. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. Do it with all your strength. And do it with all your power. What a good philosophy. That kind of philosophy revolutionizes your life if you haven't picked it up lately. Guy slips in late. Company doesn't seem to mind. Slips out early. First one in the parking lot. Heaven for happy hour. Stretches his break. Comes early for lunch. Late back from lunch. Company doesn't seem to notice. Guy says, best as I can calculate, I'm putting in about half a day's work and I'm collecting a full day's pay. And the guy says, I got it made. Little does he know, the seeds of his own disaster are already being sown by the weakness of his own personal philosophy. It's not the economy that's going to determine your next 6 years. It's your philosophy about labor and about activity and about miracle and soil and seed and sunshine and rain and the economy and the banks and the money and the companies and the schools and what's going on. It's your philosophy and your attitude and then your ability to take action. All of that we call the process of life change, miracle working. Do what you can, do the best you can. Here was number 3, results. Every once in a while, you've got to take a measure. See how you're doing with these 3 pieces. Philosophy, attitude, activity. Now we take a measure called results. What are the results at the end of the day? The results at the end of the week. You can't let too much time go by without checking. When time goes by, 6 years I'd been out there working. When I met my teacher, Mr. Schiff said, well, Mr. Owen, let's just go through a little summary here. He said, in the last 6 years, how much money have you saved and invested? Let's go through a little tab list here. How much money have you saved and invested in the last 6 years? I said, what, 0? He said, you have messed up. You remember these notes? I like that you've messed up, he said. Who sold you on that plan? I thought, my gosh, the man's right. I'm a nice guy. I bought the wrong plan. What if you were 50 and broke, right? Didn't need to change. Countries bought the wrong plan. What a sad scenario that would be. But Shelf said these questions let's go through. Some results, he said. How many books have you read in the last 90 days? I said, what, 0? Wisdom of the world available. Change your life. Change your future. Wisdom of the world available. Develop. Develop any skill you want. Earn the kind of income you want. Have all the treasures you want. Equities you want. relationship with your family that you want, everything that you want available, and the wisdom of the world to help you get it. Haven't read any books in the last 90 days, my teacher said. Mr. Rohn, you have messed up. I'm telling you, you've got the deal shelf, said Mr. Owen. In the last 6 months, how many classes have you taken? To improve your skills or to develop new skills? Go for the American dream. Become rich and powerful and sophisticated and healthy and influential. How many classes have you taken the last 6 months? I said, hi, how many? 0, he said. You have messed up. Said you don't need to unmess the country. You don't need to straighten out the perplexed. You don't need to straighten out any of this stuff. All you've got to do is look within and let results teach you a great deal about your own activity, your own attitude, and your own philosophy. I went through that process. Take this phrase home. Results is the name of the game. What other game is there? Results. Here's all life asks us to do. Make measurable progress in reasonable time. Just take home that little phrase, good phrase. We're asked in life simply to make measurable progress in reasonable time. We demand of our children, how many years do you want your child to spend in 4th grade? Approximately about 1. If it looks like they're not going to make it, we pour on the pressure called legitimate. Pressure, lack of results. Peer pressure, family pressure, school pressure, community pressure, every other kind of pressure we can bring to bear. What? You can't stay more than 1 year in 4th grade. As parents, you'd have to leave the community and say, well, what if they're nice kids? Wouldn't you give them 3 or 4 years? The answer is no. You got to make better progress than that. So you got to check fairly often. Some things you got to check every day. Some things you got to check at least by the end of the week. Salesman joins us, a little sales company supposed to make 10 calls first week. Wouldn't it be legitimate? Call him in on Friday and say, John, what? How many calls? I mean, this stuff is simple. John says, well, say John, well, won't fit in this little box here. Well, now John starts with a story. You say, John, I made this little box so small, so a story won't fit. I don't need a story. I need what? A number. A number? What will a number tell me? Everything. John's supposed to make 10 calls. What if he made 20? You say, wow, we got somebody. What if he only made 1 call? Whoa. Will that tell us something about John's philosophy? And the answer is yes. Will it tell us something about his attitude? Of course. Will it tell us something about his disciplines? Of course. And if he wants a lesson in life change, all he has to do is be willing to face the numbers and come up with the results. That will teach you to either celebrate if you got good results, or fix whatever needs to be fixed in your philosophy, attitude, activity, called disciplines. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. The next one, miracle comes from your attitude. Having the right attitude is everything. How we feel plays such a major part in our future. First, it's how you feel about the past. You need a healthy attitude about the past so that you use it, not live in it, but use it. Not carry it like a burden, but let the wise lessons you learned from the past now serve as fuel to furnish the future. Next, a good attitude about the future. You've got to set your goals. We look back for experience, but we look forward for inspiration. We must be instructed and inspired. No better inspiration than to set your goals. I started this process when I was 25. Literally rocked my world, changed my life. I had no idea it was so simple. Here's how simple it is. Decide what you want. Write it all down. Make a list of the people you want to meet. Make a list of the books you want to read. Make a list of the classes you want to take. Make a list of the skills you want to learn. Make a list of the cities you want to visit. Make a list of the investments you want to have. Just make these lists. Start checking them off. Put a lot of little things on your list so you can start checking off something right away. That's part of the fun. Here's what's next. If you check off something major, celebrate, because that inspires you to make a longer list of goals and put everything on your list. Little things, insignificant to someone else, important to you. I put a little revenge on my first list. My mentor said it was healthy. Some of the people who said I couldn't succeed, kid from the farms of Idaho, they went on my list. Couldn't wait to get my new car, drive it up on their lawn, say, "Oh, pardon me, here's the money to have it fixed." Just a little satisfaction. My Japanese friend, Toro Ikeda, San Jose, put on his first list a Caucasian gardener. Way back then, everybody had a Japanese gardener. Everybody. Japanese gardener said, "I'm Japanese, I'm going to have a Caucasian gardener." Okay, a little satisfaction, right? Set your goals. Decide what you want, write it down. Start checking them off. It's powerful stuff. Next, it's how you feel about everybody. If you want to be a leader, a true leader, entrepreneur of the highest order, well-respected, unique in your field. Here's one, how you feel about everybody. And this is philosophical as well. You cannot succeed by yourself. So, a unique sense of appreciation of everybody goes with the territory of leadership. It takes everybody for each of us to be successful. One person doesn't make an economy. One person doesn't make a symphony orchestra. It takes everybody for this gathering today. All of you had to be here to make this gathering. Everybody. If one of you were missing, there wouldn't be this many people here. Everybody to make something work, for the office, whatever, the enterprise. It takes everybody. The gift of America. But it's everybody who came over the last 200 to 300 years, bringing with them their gifts. No country has become such a depository of the gifts of the world like America has over the last 200 to 300 years. People coming, bringing their gifts. Gift of language, gift of learning, gift of politics, gift of government, gift of medicine, gift of healing, gift of music, gift of the work ethic. All this came in steady streams from all over the world, making us unusual because of the gifts that were brought. And to understand that and appreciate it now gives you open access to the market that's available to make your fortune. Now, what I love to do is go back where these gifts came from. Not long ago, I was in Rome. I had 1,000 people in my class. Someone suggested Jim Rohn loves the music of Andrea Bocelli, the blind opera singer from Italy. So when they introduced me, I walked to the podium, and all 1,000 of these Italians stood up and sang for me one of Andrea Bocelli's songs. In true Italian style, here's I described it to my grandchildren. Later I said, here was the scene, a choir of 1,000 and an audience of one, and that was me. I thought, here's where some of these gifts came, the gift of poetry. So I'll learn to appreciate the gifts. Now the last attitude is how you feel about yourself. Nothing more powerful than self-esteem, which creates self-confidence. The greatest steps towards success comes from self-confidence, and that comes from self-esteem. Doing what you know you should so that at the end of the day, you have high self-esteem. Last but not least, your equity. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. God says, now I'm an amateur on God, but here's my best analysis. God says, if you'll plant the seed, I'll make the tree. Now that's a good arrangement. Number one, gives God the tough end of the deal. What if you had to make the tree? That'd keep you up late night, trying to figure out how to make a tree. Say no. I'm telling you the mystery and the miracle of this stuff has already been set up. God says, I got the miracle going. I got the seasons going. I got some sunshine and some rain, and I'm God. But the way I've arranged that, I just need somebody to plant the seed. Not chant in California. They're trying to chant, get this stuff done. Forget this California stuff. You don't have to rub a crystal and sleep under a pyramid. Stuff's too easy. Getting rich is too easy. Changing your life is too easy. Forget all that, right? Massive bombard affirmation, forget all that. My opinion, ocean waves, and seagulls. Come on, this stuff's too simple. Just simple, easy stuff. But if you neglect it, that's how it piles up year after year. But if you're willing to straighten it out, and here's one of the keys, it's called activity. It's called disciplines. Turning wisdom from your philosophy and inspiration, the strengthening of attitude and faith and courage, commitment, and all this stuff that comes from attitude. If you're willing to take these two qualities, philosophy and attitude, and invest it into activity, you can have a miracle. Anything short of that, no miracle. Wisdom doesn't perform a miracle. Attitude doesn't perform a miracle. The only thing that performs a miracle of increase is called equity. It's called putting wisdom and attitude into discipline, into labor. And this labor now can perform America. And here's the two parts to the labor. One, do what you can. Number two, do the best you can. Can't give you better advice than that.